have testified that he choked you and he beat you. You didn't say that he sneaked up behind you and knocked you out cold, but that you turned around and there he was.
Most people remember To Kill a Mockingbird as a powerful courtroom drama with a legendary performance from Gregory Peck. But behind the film's calm and respectful image lies a surprising story filled with personal loss, studio battles, hidden fears, and moments that almost changed the movie forever. One small accident during filming became one of the most memorable moments in cinema history. And one shocking detail behind the film's release revealed just how controversial it really was. So, what was happening behind the scenes that audiences never saw? A story some wanted silenced. Today, To Kill a Mockingbird is remembered as a classic, but during its release, not everyone welcomed its message. The film openly dealt with racial prejudice, injustice, and false accusations, which made some people uncomfortable. People had worries that some areas should be softened or kept in check. A few wanted less direct wording and fewer mentions about racism, thinking the audience might react badly or kind of get upset. Director Robert Mulligan felt the story needed honesty in order to stay powerful. If you take away the rough parts, it just weakens the meaning, so the filmmakers sort of stood firm and would not budge. In the end, the movie reached viewers for the most part largely intact. Instead of fading out under pressure, it led to deeper conversations. The movie's courage came from not looking away from those uneasy truths, even when it was uncomfortable, and you could tell. A quiet act of kindness. Gregory Peck earned admiration for his performance as Atticus Finch, but one of his most meaningful actions happened away from the cameras. It remained largely unknown for years and revealed the kind of person he truly was. During production, a crew member became seriously ill and struggled with medical expenses. Treatment was expensive, and the situation placed enormous stress on the worker and his family. Few people knew how difficult things had become. Without asking for any attention, Peck kinda stepped in and covered the medical costs. He said it to almost nobody, and even then it was in passing. No announcements, no interviews, and no real attempts to win praise for being generous or nice. The whole thing only came to light years later, once other people started sharing what had happened. By that time, the gesture had turned into yet another example of why so many people really respected him, both in his work and in the way he lived his day-to-day life. Lots of actors play heroes on screen. Way fewer show something like that in regular everyday life. Peck's kindness matched a bunch of the traits audiences kept admiring in Atticus Finch. And for folks who worked with him, the act sort of confirmed what they already believed. What viewers thought they saw in the movie wasn't completely staged. A lot of it was already in Gregory Peck himself. If that quiet moment surprised you, the next one shows how fame can become its own trap. Success brought new pressure. Winning an Academy Award is often viewed as the highest achievement an actor can reach. When Gregory Peck won Best Actor for playing Atticus Finch, it should have been a moment of complete happiness. Yet, the victory came with unexpected pressure. Peck understood how special the role had become. Audiences adored Atticus, critics praised the performance, and the film quickly earned a place among Hollywood's finest achievements. The success was enormous. At the same time, Peck sort of worried about what would show up next. He kept thinking that no future role could really line up with the impact of Atticus Finch. The character had become so beloved that it threw this long shadow across his whole career, like even the light couldn't quite move past it. Lots of actors aim to craft one single unforgettable performance. Peck got there. He did. But somehow it also set expectations that felt near impossible to clear. After that, each new project ran into comparisons, whether he wanted it or not. Instead of pushing back against it, he ended up accepting the link. If he was supposed to be remembered for one role above every other one, then Atticus Finch was worth holding on to. The award gave recognition, sure, but it also served as a reminder that greatness usually arrives with responsibility attached. Grief behind the hero. When Gregory Peck stepped onto the set of To Kill a Mockingbird, he was still grieving the loss of his father. Instead of hiding that pain, he poured it into Atticus Finch, giving the character a quiet strength that felt deeply real. Crew members often noticed Peck sitting alone between scenes, silent and thoughtful. That sadness helped shape Atticus into more than a fictional lawyer. It gave him warmth, wisdom, and emotional weight. His courtroom speeches became powerful because he wasn't just saying lines. He understood what it meant to carry pain while still doing the right thing. Peck's personal heartbreak helped make Atticus unforgettable, turning the role into one of cinema's most respected performances. Harper Lee's emotional moment. Harper Lee had spent years imagining Atticus Finch in her mind. The character was inspired by her father, a man she deeply admired. So when she arrived on set and saw Gregory Peck dressed as Atticus for the first time, the moment hit her harder than anyone expected. Standing before her was a man who looked remarkably similar to the father she had known. The posture, the calm presence, and the quiet confidence felt almost uncanny. Lee became emotional as memories came rushing back. The connection, it went way beyond how things looked. Peck understood the inner heart of the character and treated the role with enormous respect. Like really straight to the point. Lee quickly caught on, too, that the man she trusted to bring Atticus to life, he wasn't just acting, he genuinely understood what the character stood for. Their bond kept getting stronger during production. Lee even handed Peck a treasured family keepsake, something her father had kept for years. Honestly, it felt like a small gesture, but it also spoke volumes because it showed how much faith she had placed in him. For Lee, that first meeting wasn't only about seeing an actor in costume. It was more like watching a beloved memory return. Right there, in front of her, standing on a movie set. A child being herself. Mary Badham was not a trained Hollywood actress when she was cast as Scout. That became one of the film's greatest strengths. Instead of giving a polished performance, she brought a natural innocence that made Scout feel real. Director Robert Mulligan encouraged her to speak in her own rhythm and react honestly. Small stumbles, nervous looks, and spontaneous moments helped make her performance feel less like acting and more like childhood captured on camera. Because she was so young, Badham responded to scenes with genuine emotion. Gregory Peck also guided her with patience and kindness, becoming a father-like figure during filming. Many child performances fade over time, but Scout's never has. Badham gave the role an innocence that could not be forced. Trouble at the premiere. Today, it is difficult to imagine a movie premiere causing fear and controversy. Yet, when To Kill a Mockingbird was released, some communities viewed its message as a threat. The story challenged racial attitudes that many people wanted to keep unchanged. In parts of the American South, theater owners worried about protests and public backlash. Some concerns showing black and white audiences together could lead to conflict. Some locations even received threats related to screenings. The movie's message about fairness and justice made it more than just entertainment. For some viewers, buying a ticket felt like a statement about the sort of society they really wanted to live in. When people watched, it carried real social weight, meaning that wasn't just for the screen. Even with all that pushback, audiences kept coming. Talks moved from theaters into houses, schools, and other neighborhoods. The film nudged people to talk through problems many had tried to dodge for years. At first, it looked like a straightforward courtroom drama, but then it turned into something bigger. When it was released, it showed deep fault lines inside society, and it proved that movies can test your assumptions, set off arguments, and leave a mark that stays in history. Brock Peters' hard reality. Brock Peters gave one of the film's strongest performances as Tom Robinson. But while he portrayed injustice on screen, he also faced painful reminders of discrimination in real life. During production, Peters experienced moments that echoed the same racial tension shown in the story. That made some scenes even heavier and more personal for him. Gregory Peck treated Peters with respect and support, and the two built a strong friendship during filming. Their trust helped make the bond between Atticus Finch and Tom Robinson feel honest on screen. Years later, Peters spoke about the lasting impact of the film and his friendship with Peck. Their relationship showed the same values the movie stood for: dignity, fairness, and compassion. The house that wasn't. The Finch family home feels like one of the most welcoming places in movie history. Its front porch, shaded yard, and simple Southern charm helped audiences feel connected to Scout, Jem, and Atticus. Many viewers assumed it was a real house somewhere in Alabama. The truth was much different. The home was carefully built on a Hollywood backlot. Designers spent months studying photographs and details from actual Southern neighborhoods to make every part look authentic. From weathered shutters to worn paint, everything was planned. The illusion worked so well that some cast members kind of forgot they were actually walking through a movie set. From the outside, the house looked pretty complete and lived in. Inside, though, there was very little. Interior scenes were filmed elsewhere, on separate sound stages. Mary Badham later recalled being kind of startled by how much of the house was basically only an arrangement of illusions. What felt like a real family home was, in truth, a collection of carefully crafted pieces put together for the take. That focus on detail really helped build the world of Maycomb. Audiences weren't just watching a story anymore. They felt like they were dwelling in it alongside the Finch family. And not only viewing it, saving Atticus's greatest speech. One of the most memorable parts of To Kill a Mockingbird is Atticus Finch's powerful courtroom speech. It remains one of the most celebrated scenes in film history. Yet, there was a time when studio executives wanted to shorten it. The concern seemed practical. Some believed audiences would lose interest during a long speech. They pushed for cuts that would make the scene move faster and feel more modern. Gregory Peck strongly disagreed. He believed the speech was the heart of the entire story. Without it, Atticus would lose much of the moral strength that defined him. Director Robert Mulligan supported Peck's position. Together, they fought to preserve the scene. Their decision allowed viewers to hear Atticus fully explain his beliefs about justice, equality, and truth. Every word mattered. When the movie was released, the speech became one of its most praised moments. Critics and audiences recognized its emotional power immediately. The very scene some executives considered too long became one of the reasons the film achieved lasting greatness. The symbol nearly vanished. The title To Kill a Mockingbird is recognized around the world. The mockingbird itself became a symbol of innocence, kindness, and the harm caused when good people are hurt. Surprisingly, that important idea almost received far less attention in the film. Some studio executives questioned whether audiences would understand the symbolism. They worried it was too literary and might confuse moviegoers who simply wanted a courtroom drama. Harper Lee strongly disagreed. To her, the mockingbird represented the soul of the story. Removing or reducing that symbol would weaken the message she wanted audiences to remember. Gregory Peck also seemed pretty on board with keeping the whole idea right up front and center, you know. He got that the film wasn't only about some trial, it was more like protecting innocence, and then noticing injustice wherever it shows up. So because of those efforts and that steady focus, the lesson everyone knows about mockingbirds stayed where it belonged. Later on, it turned into one of the most quoted, most remembered bits from the whole story. Without that symbol, the movie might have been stuck in people's minds as just a legal drama. Instead, it turned into a timeless narrative about compassion, morality, and the real consequences of cruelty. Growing up too fast. Most modern productions try to shield child actors from difficult material. To Kill a Mockingbird took a different approach. The young performers were exposed to many of the story's serious themes, so their reactions would feel honest and natural. Mary Badham and Philip Alford spent time around scenes dealing with prejudice, injustice, and conflict. They listened carefully to conversations that explored difficult realities many children their age rarely encountered. Director Robert Mulligan believed authenticity was important. He wanted the children to understand what was happening in the story instead of simply repeating lines. That understanding helped create more believable performances. Gregory Peck often stepped in to explain complex ideas in ways they could understand. He treated the young actors with patience and care, helping them process the heavy subjects surrounding the film. The result was remarkable. Their reactions felt genuine because they were responding to the emotional weight of the story rather than pretending to understand it. While the experience challenged them, it also helped create some of the most realistic child performances ever captured on film, giving the story an emotional honesty that still resonates today. The perfect courtroom illusion. The courtroom scenes in To Kill a Mockingbird feel so authentic that many viewers assume they were filmed inside a real courthouse. In reality, every detail was carefully built and controlled on a Hollywood set designed specifically for the movie. Production designers studied real Alabama courthouses from the 1930s. They examined photographs, architecture, furniture, and layouts to make sure everything looked historically accurate. The goal was to create a setting that felt completely believable. Even little details got this special attention, like they were supposed to matter more than the big stuff. The benches were treated so they looked decades old, and the judge's place was shaped to feel imposing and authoritative. The ceiling could even come off, so cameras could grab dramatic angles during the trial. The whole thing turned out pretty remarkable. Audiences thought they were seeing events play out inside a real Southern courthouse. It felt like every corner was packed with history. And that kind of realism you can almost taste. Ironically, the natural kind of atmosphere people remember most was basically built on careful planning and tight control. Nothing was left up to chance. By constructing the courtroom from the ground up, the filmmakers somehow ended up with one of the most convincing settings in cinema history. Keep that courtroom image in mind, because the next moment was never planned. A simple slip changed everything. Some of the greatest movie moments happen by accident. In To Kill a Mockingbird, Gregory Peck accidentally fumbled his glasses during a scene. It was not scripted, but he stayed in character and kept going. Director Robert Mulligan liked that moment so much, he kept it in the film. So what could have been a tiny mistake made Atticus Finch feel a bit more human, or at least more like someone you'd actually meet. Instead of seeming like this perfect hero, Atticus looked more like a real father and a working lawyer with that heavy responsibility on his shoulders. The little slip, somehow, adds weakness, but also warmth, and a kind of honest gravity to the whole scene. And then, that simple accident turns into a strong sign of wisdom, dignity, and humanity. The house everyone feared. Boo Radley's home was meant to look mysterious and frightening, but the filmmakers made it so convincing that it unsettled people behind the scenes too. Built on a Hollywood lot, the house looked old, abandoned and eerie, with dark windows, worn wood, and overgrown surroundings. Soon, stories began spreading around the set. Some crew members claimed they heard strange noises nearby, while others joked that the place was haunted. Even the younger actors felt uneasy around it. Philip Alford, who played Jem, later admitted he avoided walking near the house alone. That real discomfort helped make the fear on screen feel stronger. The Radley house was more than just a set. It became a silent character in the film. Music, they almost rejected. One of the most memorable parts of To Kill a Mockingbird isn't dialogue at all. It's the gentle score composed by Elmer Bernstein. Today, it's considered a classic, but studio executives were not impressed when they first heard it. Instead of creating dramatic courtroom music, Bernstein focused on soft melodies that captured childhood innocence, memory, and emotion. Some executives felt the score lacked energy and worried it was too quiet for such an important film. Director Robert Mulligan disagreed. He believed the story should feel like it was being remembered through a child's eyes, and the music reflected that perfectly. He defended Bernstein's work and refused to replace it. When audiences finally heard the score, they connected with it immediately. What nearly got rejected for being too subtle became one of the film's most beloved elements and helped define its emotional identity. Harper Lee nearly left. Harper Lee cared deeply about her novel and wanted the film adaptation to stay true to its message. As changes were made to the screenplay, she worried important parts of the story would be lost. Like many writers, Lee was worried Hollywood would kind of morph her book into a thing it was never really meant to be. Her unease got to be quite serious, to the point she thought about stepping back from the whole project entirely. Gregory Peck came in and helped ease those worries. He told Lee that the movie kept the pulse of her story and would stay loyal to the core themes. His plain sincerity did a lot to put her confidence back in order again. After a while, Lee ended up being one of the film's biggest advocates, and she even praised how the finished version turned out. Without that trust, that adaptation, one of the best literary turnarounds ever made, might have gone on a very different trail. The studio's secret fear. Today, To Kill a Mockingbird is considered a classic, but many studio executives once believed it could fail. They worried audiences would avoid a story focused on racial injustice and courtroom drama. Some insiders viewed the project as risky from the start. The film lacked the action, romance, and spectacle that often drove box office success. As release day approached, uncertainty continued to grow. There was no guarantee viewers would embrace such a serious and emotional story. Many feared controversy could hurt ticket sales and limit its appeal. Instead, the opposite happened. Audiences connected deeply with the film's message, and it became both a critical and commercial success. What some executives saw as a gamble became one of Hollywood's most respected and enduring films. A hidden family cameo. Most viewers never noticed one of the film's most personal details. During a courtroom scene, a young woman quietly sits among the spectators. She wasn't just an extra. She was Gregory Peck's daughter, Cecilia. The appearance was brief and received no publicity. To audiences, she blended naturally into the crowd. The cameo happened after Peck asked director Robert Mulligan if she could be part of the film. Even if it was small, that moment sort of meant quite a lot to Peck. It let his family take part in a project that had become deeply important to him, in a way. Long after, the cameo turned into one of those favorite bits of movie trivia people bring up. Also, it formed another kind of link between Peck and Atticus Finch. In both their lives, family wasn't just there. It stayed central. And tucked in behind a well-known courtroom scene, there was this quiet little reminder that the movie felt personal for the folks who made it, not just for the audience. Faces from Real History. Director Robert Mulligan encouraged them to react naturally during important scenes rather than perform in a rehearsed way. Because of that, many expressions seen on screen feel genuine. The discomfort, curiosity, and tension often came from real experiences rather than acting. Their presence added another layer of realism to the courtroom scenes. Audiences weren't just watching people pretend to relive history. In some cases, they were seeing individuals who had actually lived through parts of it. The result is still noticeable today. Those reactions helped make the trial feel believable and emotional, giving Maycomb an authenticity that continues to resonate with audiences decades later. A friendship beyond Hollywood. Harper Lee and Gregory Peck developed a relationship that went far beyond a typical author-actor partnership. What started as a professional collaboration grew into a lasting friendship built on trust and mutual respect. Lee believed Peck understood Atticus Finch better than anyone else. His performance captured the character she had imagined while writing the novel, creating a strong bond between them. Even after the movie came out, they stayed close for years, like it was natural or something. Their bond, their real connection was based not just on how well the film did, but on the values and the message they both actually cared about a lot. As time went on, their friendship turned into one of those rare, long-lasting ties linked to that same movie. It somehow held up through career shifts, more public attention, and all these decades of history that piled up. To Kill a Mockingbird is what put them in the same orbit, yet it was friendship that kept them connected. Their relationship still works as a reminder that big stories can spark real ties well beyond the screen. Why everything was gray. By the early 1960s, color films were becoming common, but To Kill a Mockingbird stayed black and white for a reason. Director Robert Mulligan believed color would distract from the story's emotion, characters, and moral questions. The black and white style made the film feel like a memory, especially since much of the story is seen through Scout's eyes. It also gave scenes more weight, making shadows stronger, faces more expressive, and the mood more serious. At the time, the choice was risky because some viewers preferred color. Instead, it became one of the film's greatest strengths, helping To Kill a Mockingbird feel timeless even decades later. The title that changed. It is difficult to imagine the story being called anything other than To Kill a Mockingbird. The title became one of the most recognizable names in American literature and film. Surprisingly, that wasn't the original plan. At one stage, Harper Lee considered naming the book Atticus. The title would have focused attention on Atticus Finch, the moral center of the story and one of its most admired characters. While the idea made sense, it also limited the meaning of the story. The novel explored much more than one man's actions. It examined childhood, innocence, prejudice, courage, and the loss of innocence. Lee ended up picking a title that linked back to the Mockingbird sign instead. Honestly, that choice kind of moved the attention toward the tale's deeper ideas, rather than zeroing in on one character only. With the new name, readers and viewers were encouraged to consider everyone in Maycomb who sort of stood for innocence, but also for that quiet kind of frailty. In other words, it made the whole story feel wider in scope. and it carried more heart, more emotional weight. When you look back, the swap was really crucial. Just one title changed how people watched the story, and it helped form one of the most enduring literary symbols ever laid down. A classroom for lawyers. Most movies entertain audiences for a few hours before fading into memory. To Kill a Mockingbird achieved something much rarer. It became part of legal education and influenced real people entering the legal profession. Law schools began showing the film to students studying ethics, fairness, and professional responsibility. Atticus Finch's behavior in the courtroom provided a powerful example of integrity under pressure. Future lawyers watched how he treated others with respect, even when facing hostility. His commitment to justice became a model for legal professionalism and moral courage. The influence extended beyond classrooms. Judges, attorneys, and legal organizations frequently referenced Atticus Finch when discussing the ideals of the profession. A fictional character became a symbol of real-world values. Few films cross the boundary between entertainment and education so successfully. The lessons presented in Mockingbird continued shaping discussions long after the credits rolled. The movie proved that stories can do more than reflect society. They can help guide it. Through Atticus Finch, generations of legal professionals found inspiration in a character who stood firmly for truth, fairness, and dignity. Hold on to that legal legacy, because the last fact introduces a face nobody could ignore. Duvall's first big break. Before becoming one of Hollywood's most respected actors, Robert Duvall was an unknown performer hoping for an opportunity. That opportunity arrived in an unusual form: the mysterious Boo Radley, a character who barely speaks throughout the film. Some people involved in the production weren't convinced he was the right choice. Boo was supposed to feel strange, distant, and almost ghost-like. Producers worried that Duvall's appearance and quiet presence might make audiences uncomfortable. Director Robert Mulligan kind of saw it all a little differently. He was convinced Duvall could say, communicate more through silence than a lot of actors can manage through pages and pages of dialogue. His faith in the young actor turned out right, actually. To get ready, Duvall stayed withdrawn, sort of quiet inside, and carefully built Boo's unsettling but still sympathetic presence. The final work was a performance that stuck with people, even with not much time on screen. Whenever he showed up, audiences felt that mix of curiosity and compassion, like they couldn't quite look away. When he looks back, the role becomes more than a part. It turned into a real launching point for Duvall's legendary career. The actor, who almost didn't even get the job, ended up creating one of the film's most unforgettable characters. Sometimes, one single chance shifts everything. For Robert Duvall, Boo Radley was that chance. Over 6 decades later, To Kill a Mockingbird still stands as a powerful classic. Its hidden stories, unforgettable performances, and behind-the-scenes struggles continue to make its legacy stronger. Which fact surprised you most? Comment below, like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more classic Hollywood stories. And before you go, watch the next video shown on your screen. Another incredible story is waiting.